Question 16, we're asked to rearrange this equation, y equals 4 minus 3x over x minus 5, to make x the subject. At the moment, y is the subject because it starts off y equals. We want it to say x equals. Unfortunately, we can't just switch the x's for the y's, so we can't just say x equals 4 minus 3y over y minus 5. That would be far too easy. It's worth 4 marks, so there's a number of different stages that we need to do. So essentially what I would advise is you treat this a bit like solving an equation. So we're trying to get x on its own, and if we think about this, because we've got a fraction, we need to multiply by the denominator on both sides to get rid of this fraction. So because I'm multiplying a term by more than one term, we need to be using brackets. So I'm going to multiply both sides by x minus 5. So I have y brackets x minus 5. I write down the y first because y was there first, and then I multiply it by x minus 5. Notice the times sign has disappeared because I know when I'm using algebra, two things next to each other mean multiply. If I then look on the right hand side, I've got 4 minus 3x is left on the right hand side. The bottom part is now cancelled out. So I've divided by, that line means divide, so dividing by x minus 5, then timesing by x minus 5 cancels that out. So I'm just left with the numerator now. Okay, so if we expand this bracket, we can see what we have left. So x times, or y times x, we can write as xy. Remember, when multiplying more than one letter, write in alphabetical order. Y times 5 is 5y, and it's a minus, so it's minus 5y, and that equals the right hand side. So we're now getting closer to what we need. We want to make x the subject. Okay. The problem is we have x's on both sides. So how we're going to do this is we're going to get all the x's on one side, and then we're going to factorize. Okay, so let's start off by getting rid of that minus 3x on both sides. So if I add 3x onto both sides, the reason why I started picking on that first is because it's minus, so I don't really like working with the negatives. So if I add 3x to both sides, it will then make it positive. So remember, this bit was there first, so I write that down first, xy minus 5y. Then I've just now gone ahead and added 3x to it. And on the right hand side, I've now just got 4, because remember, this bit is cancelled out. Okay, so we want to get x on its own. I've got x and x on the same side, but I need to get rid of this minus 5y. Don't forget about that minus because that's important. To get rid of it, we need to do the opposite. So I'm going to add 5y to both sides. So that will then get rid of that bit. So I'm left with xy plus 3x. And remember, 4 was there first, so I write that down first. Then I've added 5y to it, so I write that afterwards. Okay. Now we want it to say x equals. The problem is, because we've got two lots of x's, I can't make it say x equals without factorizing. So looking at the expression on the left hand side, factorizing by taking x out, so x times y will give me xy, x times 3, that's a plus 3, will give me plus 3x. So I've now factorized that, and that equals 4 plus 5y. And now I can finish my answer because I wanted to say x equals, at the moment I've got this thing attached. Remember, two things next to each other means multiply. So to get rid of this, I need to divide by y plus 3. So if I divide both sides by y plus 3, I then get x on its own. Remember, this was there first, so I'll write that down first. And then I'm dividing it, so I'm going to use a fraction line, by y plus 3. And that's my final answer. So x equals 4 plus 5y over y plus 3. I'll just check this in the mark scheme. That's exactly what they've got. If you have written it a slightly different way, so say when you've worked it out, you've written 5y plus 4 equals 3 plus y, or something like that, then you would still get the marks. Again, it says OE, which means that answer or equivalent. And if you wrote it the other way around, so 5y plus 4, that's the same as 4 plus 5y.